You ever catch yourself playing chess in your head against yourself? Replaying conversations, planning scenarios that never happen, thinking so hard your thoughts get anxiety? Well, Marcus Aurelius would have looked at you and said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stoics didn't just sit on stone benches and stroke their beards for fun. They were warriors of the mind. And today we're breaking down one Stoic rule that will help you crush overthinking at its root by exposing it for what it really is: fear wearing a hoodie. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help our journey. And make sure you watch till the end, because the final tip is the game changer. Number 1. Overthinking is fear in disguise. Overthinking feels productive. It tricks us into believing we're just being careful or planning ahead. But if you peel back the layers, it's not logic driving that mental spiral. It's fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of the unknown. That voice in your head saying, "What if it goes wrong?" isn't your inner strategist. It's your inner warrior doing mental gymnastics. Stoics saw fear as the enemy of reason. To them, every unnecessary emotion or thought was something that clouded judgment. When you overthink, you're not being wise. You're allowing imaginary futures to hijack your present peace. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." Basically, you're arguing with shadows. The problem? Overthinking leads to paralysis. You hesitate, you doubt, and suddenly you're stuck in your head while the world keeps moving. And while you're busy playing What If Olympics, opportunities walk right past you, nodding politely. That hesitation is fear telling you it's safer to do nothing. Recognizing that overthinking is rooted in fear is your first Stoic move. You can't fight what you can't see, but once you name it, you can tame it. And the best way to beat fear? Use the Stoic rule of focus, which we'll get into next. Number 2, control what you can, let go of what you can't. If Stoicism had a golden rule, it would be this: focus only on what you can control. That one sentence? It's a sledgehammer for smashing overthinking. Because 90% of our mental chaos is about things completely outside our control. Other people's opinions, the outcome of an event, the weather on your birthday picnic. The Stoics taught that true peace comes from narrowing your focus. You're not responsible for what happens. You're only responsible for how you respond. When you overthink, you're essentially trying to control every variable of life. But life isn't a math problem. It's jazz. Unpredictable, messy, and beautifully out of tune sometimes. Let's take a silly example. You text someone and they don't reply for 3 hours. Your brain goes, "They hate me. I offended them. Maybe I used too many emojis." Relax. They're probably just pooping. Stoicism tells you, don't speculate. Observe. You can't control their silence, but you can control how you react to it. By locking your mind on what's yours, your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, you strip fear of its fuel. You stop trying to control outcomes and start directing your energy inward, where it actually matters. That's how you break the habit of overthinking. Shrink your focus, strengthen your peace. Number 3, the mental cost of overthinking. Here's something wild. Overthinking doesn't just mess with your mood. It drains your brain like a phone stuck on 1% battery. You're mentally exhausted from doing nothing but thinking. And worse, you make worse decisions because your mind's too cluttered to see clearly. Stoicism treasures stillness, not just silence, but the ability to stay calm and unmoved in the storm. Stillness isn't passive. It's powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That's not poetic fluff, it's strategy. Stillness is how you conserve energy, regain clarity, and move with intention. Every moment you spend in a thought loop is a moment you lose to life. While you're thinking about whether or not to take a step, someone else has already crossed the finish line. Think of it this way. Overthinking is like revving an engine without shifting into gear. You're burning fuel, but going nowhere. Practicing stillness through journaling, meditation, or even just taking a walk without your phone teaches your brain that not every thought deserves attention. You train yourself to observe without attachment. That's how you reclaim your mind. And once your mind is clear, fear can't find a place to hide. Number 4. How to apply this Stoic rule in daily life. Here's the part everyone skips: application. Philosophy is useless unless you live it. So how do you actually use this Stoic rule in your messy, chaotic, group chat-filled life? Simple: pause, sort, act. When your brain starts spiraling, pause. Ask yourself, what can I control here? Sort your thoughts like laundry. Keep what's yours, toss the rest. Then act only on the part that's truly within your power. Let's say you're prepping for a job interview. Your mind starts racing. What if I mess up? What if they don't like me? What if I blank out? Stop. Can you control the reactions? Nope. But you can prepare your answers, show up early, breathe slowly, and walk in with a calm mindset. That's Stoic action. That's clarity over chaos. Another tip: set mental time limits. Give yourself 5 minutes to think through a decision. If you're still spinning after that, decide and move on. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Overthinking is one of the biggest time wasters. Treat your time like a sacred resource and stop donating it to your fears. You don't need to be a monk on a mountain to be stoic. You just need to practice mental discipline in small moments. That's where freedom lives. Not in controlling life, but in not letting life control you. Number 5, fear is a liar. Let's be honest. Fear is a persuasive liar. It sounds like logic, dresses like caution, and pretends to protect you. But really, it just wants you to stay small. To overthink is to believe that by thinking more, you'll feel more in control. But control doesn't come from thinking. It comes from acting wisely, calmly, and without panic. Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore fear. It tells you to see through it. Fear thrives in imagination. But when you anchor yourself in what is, instead of what might be, fear starts to shrink. Overthinking evaporates under the sunlight of presence. That's the real Stoic way. So the next time you find yourself spiraling in what-ifs, ask, what am I afraid of? Then grab that fear, look in the face, and say, thanks for your input, but I've got this. Then act. Number 6, the illusion of certainty. Why overthinkers crave control. Let's get real. Overthinkers love one thing more than coffee: certainty. And who can blame them? The human brain is wired to hate ambiguity. But here's the Stoic truth bomb. Certainty is an illusion. No matter how much you analyze, plan, or predict, life still does its own thing. The more you chase certainty, the more you suffer from its absence. The Stoics didn't waste time trying to predict the future. They focused on becoming so mentally strong that they could handle anything the future brought. Marcus Aurelius didn't write How to Predict Your Destiny in 10 Easy Steps. He wrote meditations to train his mind to stay steady no matter what happened. He accepted the unknown as part of the game. Overthinking is just your brain trying to guarantee a perfect outcome. But here's the kicker. There's no such thing as a perfect outcome. There's only your response to whatever happens. The more you overthink, the more you're trying to script life like it's a Netflix show. But life isn't a script, it's improv. And Stoics? They're master improvisers. So if you find yourself obsessing over every detail in hopes of making things safe, stop. Remind yourself that safety doesn't come from certainty. It comes from resilience. You don't need to know what's next. You just need to be ready for it. That's Stoicism in action. That's how you break free from the mental loop. Number 7, stop playing every scene twice. Imagine paying for a bad movie twice, once before it plays and again after you sit through it. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's exactly what overthinking does. You suffer before the suffering, mentally rehearsing pain, rejection, or failure before it even knocks on your door. And if it never shows up, you still paid full price. Seneca nailed it when he said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That wasn't just poetic. He was throwing hands at overthinking. When you imagine the worst over and over, your brain starts to believe it's real. Your body releases stress hormones. Your mood tanks. And guess what? The event hasn't even happened yet. Stoicism teaches emotional economy. Don't spend your energy on pain that doesn't exist. Don't drain your peace preparing for disasters that may never come. Instead, focus on maintaining internal balance so that when real challenges arrive, you're calm, not already exhausted from your mental dress rehearsal. Next time you catch yourself spiraling into what if land, ask, am I experiencing this or just imagining it? That simple question can snap you back to the present. Stop watching the horror movie in your head. Reality is usually way kinder, and you'll handle it better if you haven't burned yourself out with previews. Number 8, trust yourself more. Here's the thing. Most overthinkers aren't actually afraid of the world. They're afraid of their own decisions. They don't trust themselves enough to act without overanalyzing. But guess what Stoicism trains you to do? Develop unshakable trust in your own judgment. Not because you're always right, but because you're always learning. Epictetus taught that if you focus on developing character over outcomes, you'll never feel like a failure. Even when things go wrong, you've practiced discipline, courage, and wisdom. That's a win. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being prepared to face imperfection without collapsing. When you overthink, it's often a self-protection mechanism. You don't trust yourself to handle regret, criticism, or failure. So you try to think your way into immunity. But Stoicism flips that. It says, you don't need to be immune. You need to be anti-fragile. Break, learn, grow, repeat. That's the cycle of someone who trusts themselves. Start small. Make a decision without asking 5 friends. Take action before your mind talks you out of it. Then reflect, not obsess, afterward. This is how Stoics built confidence through doing, not stewing. And soon, you'll find that overthinking becomes irrelevant. Not because life is easier, but because you've gotten stronger. Number 9, disengaging from the noise. You know what fuels overthinking more than fear? Noise. Notifications, opinions, pressure, expectations, TikToks telling you you're behind in life. It's chaos. And if you don't build mental boundaries, your thoughts will become public property. Stoicism was all about building internal walls, not to isolate you, but to protect your peace. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but still made time to write retreat into yourself. That's how sacred he saw solitude. He wasn't anti-people. He was pro-clarity, because when your mind is full of other people's voices, you lose touch with your own. Overthinking thrives in that fog, where your inner compass is drowned out by outside noise. Modern life doesn't reward stillness. It wants you reactive, emotional, and constantly checking your phone. But if you're always plugged in, you'll never hear your real thoughts, only borrowed worries. The Stoic solution? Disengage. Turn off the noise. Sit in silence. Let your mind detox. That's where clarity lives. Set boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. Limit screen time. Journal before you scroll. Choose when you consume and when you reflect. You'll find that the less noise you absorb, the less you overthink. Because overthinking isn't just fear, it's overstimulation. And boundaries are your filter. Number 10, less thinking, more living. Here's the irony. We overthink in the name of life optimization. We want to do the right thing, avoid mistakes, protect our happiness. But all that overthinking does is steal the very thing we're trying to protect, the experience of living. You weren't born to analyze. You were born to act, grow, and adapt. Stoicism is action philosophy. It doesn't want you stuck in mental debates. It wants you out there in the arena. Marcus didn't say, think more about life. He said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's your cue. Overthinking may feel like caution, but it's often just procrastination in disguise. The Stoic path is about pruning the unnecessary, cutting off mental clutter, doing the next right thing, not the perfect thing. When you live like that, your mind quiets. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop needing every detail to align. And that's when real life begins, not in theory, but in motion. So here's your call to action, not just for this channel, but for your life. Trust more. Fear less. Think wisely, but not endlessly. And of course, if this spoke to you, like, subscribe, and stay with us. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about peace. One brave thought at a time.